Hi, my name is Carolyn Ogan, IT Manager for the Resource Professionals Group. This is number 3 in a series of 3 videos, which provide live demonstrations on how to file and pay your hotel occupancy tax online. These videos provide step-by-step instructions covering the following: logging into your account, changing your password and getting help, completing your registration form, filing your tax return, and paying your returns balance. This video covers the topics highlighted in green: filing your tax return and paying your returns balance. Before you get started, you'll need to have the following available. You'll need your account number and password to log in. For more on this, please see the video entitled How to Log In, Change Your Password, and Get Help. Plus, you'll need the 9-digit federal employer tax ID belonging to the owner of your lodging establishment. And of course, you'll need the data for your tax return, such as your gross rental receipts, and the dollar amount of any rent that is exempt from taxation. This should be segregated into term exempt rent and personal status exempt rent categories. We'll cover this in more detail momentarily. And if you're ready to pay your balance, you'll also need your bank account information, to include your routing number and account number. Once you have gathered that information, you'll be ready to go to our website, trpgroup.us, where you can click on the blue button labeled Taxpayers at the top of the page and log into your account. So let's take a look at the layout of this page. You can see that the page is divided in half. The left half is where you sign in to file your tax return, and the right half is where you sign in to register your account. You'll need to have completed the taxpayer registration in order to file a return. For more on this, please see the video entitled How to Register Your New Account. A registration form has already been submitted for this account, so we can go ahead and go to the left-hand side of the page and file a tax return. You can see that the name of the establishment has been entered for you, in my case, TRP Group Demo. So all you need to do is enter the owner's federal employer tax ID and get started with File Return. The first time you file on the system, you'll be able to choose the month you are filing for. Pick the last day of that month, as that is when the filing period ends. So I chose May 31st, 2017. Once you have filed and paid your first return, you'll be required to file for periods in consecutive order, and the system will fill the period ending in for you. Next, you'll get a couple of pop-ups. This first one just lets you know today's date and the due dates currently in effect. The second one tells you what discounts or penalties will apply to your return. In this case, we get a discount of 3%. Now we're on the first page of the tax return. On the far left-hand side of the page, you can read about your municipality's hotel occupancy tax filing requirements and definitions. So, because there are no unpaid returns currently in the system knows you are filing a new return. So, File Original Return is really your only option here. This will become clearer in a few minutes. So at this point, we can just click the Continue button to move on. But before we do that, notice that there is a link on this page that allows you to access and print your past returns. It says View and Print Past Returns. In other words, this is your own personal tax return archive. So let's move on. This second page summarizes general information about your establishment and your return. It gives you today's date, the return due date, the lodging establishment name and account number, as well as number of rooms and occupancy rate. You provided the number of rooms for your establishment when you registered, so that's already filled in for you. The only thing you need to fill in on this page is your occupancy rate. Occupancy rate can be calculated by dividing the total number of rooms occupied during the month by the total number of rooms available. If exact figures are unavailable to you, make an educated guess. Note that you need to enter just the decimal value for this, and the system will turn that into a percentage. For example, for 50% occupancy, enter 0.50. For 25%, enter 0.25, and so on. So I'm going to say 80% occupancy and enter 0.80. There it is. This is the main part of your return. When you enter these values, you should enter only the numbers with no punctuation. So if my gross receipts are $120,000, I should just enter 120,000, and the system will automatically add the dollar sign and comma. So that's shown here. If you have rent that was exempt from taxation, that rent goes in either or both of these boxes: term exempt rent, personal status exempt rent. If you need a detailed explanation of these, you can click on the little question marks, like this. But basically, term exempt rent covers stays in excess of 30 continuous days. And status exempt rent covers all other types of exempt rent. This is detailed here. Let's say we have $5,000 in term exempt rent and $5,000 in status exempt rent. You can see that as I enter these numbers, the net taxable receipts is calculated for me. $120,000 minus $10,000 is $110,000. So now we can move on to the last page of the return. So once you have entered those values, everything else, your total taxable amount, your tax rate, subtotal tax due, your discount, and total amount due and payable. All these things are calculated for you. If you need to correct any of your data, you can click on the edit link. But when you are ready, just enter your own name and your position in the boxes and click File Return. So my return was filed successfully. You can print the tax return form at this time by clicking on the click here to view and print a copy of your return link. Or as I mentioned before, you can come back at a later date and pull up your return from your archives. You are now ready to pay any balance that is due on the return. You can do that immediately or come back later. Just remember that for purposes of discounts and penalties, a return is not considered filed until it is paid. Here is the printable form. When you're done printing, you can close that window and either pay your balance or just log out and come back later. Let's say we're doing the latter. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to go back to the main page. So I'm pretending that I'm coming back later to pay my returns balance. So you just come back into the tax file area as usual. Go through the pop-ups. And now you see there are two buttons. One for editing your return and one for paying. I'm going to click the Pay button and continue. This payment portal gathers information associated with the account that will be used to make payment. You'll need the name on the account, the address, etc. Notice you need both a first and last name. So I'm going to say that the payer is TRP Group LLC. And just divide that up logically like this into a first and last name, since they're both required. And as I showed you in the last video, when you do an address, you can handle these drop-down boxes like this. Just pick the state or type in the state, and the cities in that state will appear in the next drop-down box. And when you do the city, the same thing happens. There's only one zip code applying to that city. Also, the phone is automatically formatted for you. Now, this email is very important because your payment receipts are emailed to you and will be sent to this email address. So be sure that this is where you want your payment receipt to go. And now, you'll be taken to a secured payment area. If you've never made an ACH or automated clearinghouse transfer or paid online with a check, the illustration at the bottom shows you how to find your routing and account numbers. The check number over here is for your own use. If you don't want to associate the payment with a check, just enter 000. So I'm going to just enter a bank name, Main Street Bank, and I'm really not going to do the rest or make a payment at this point. But I am going to tell you that when you do fill all this in and hit the Pay Now button, and it successfully processes, you'll get a success message that you can print out, and you will receive a detailed email at the address you have specified. That will serve as your receipt. Once that happens, I recommend you log out of your account until next time. That concludes this video, how to file and pay your tax return. I hope this has been helpful. Remember, you can always contact us if you have questions. Our toll-free number is 877-729-2001. Thank you and have a great day.